So my name is George Hofsink. I'm the co-founder and CEO of FintechWerx International Software Services, Inc. We are listed on the CSE, and our ticker symbol is WERX, WERX. So we conceived of this idea about 5 years ago. 2 years ago, we got our direct list on the CSE. And we are a payments and device intelligence platform. What that means in our business, I come from banking, fintech, financial technology side of the world, and my co-founder comes from the payment side. So in our journey, our focus was how do we better automate, how do we better deliver faster payment service access to merchants, independent service organizations, payment service providers, and financial institutions. And so the way to do that was really to automate what are largely manual processes, especially around merchants in the e-commerce environment, or who are very high-risk merchants, who are considered they don't have the right track record for the legacy payment providers. Legacy payment providers don't recognize their business for what it is. And yes, there's bad actors involved in those spaces, and being able to distinguish between who are the bad actors and the people who really are carrying the high-risk label for no good reason is what we set out to do. So we built an automated intake process. We started to adapt AI technologies, artificial intelligence technologies, I would say somewhat before some of the other people in our space, with the focus of being able to say, how do I take the customer journey, that merchant, that independent service organization or sales organization that's supporting multiple merchants, and how do I make that journey efficient and cost-effective and really deliver the payment solutions they need better, faster, cheaper? That's one end of it. All of those technologies have then evolved for us into a platform with 6 key areas. The first of which is what we branded them all WERX. So there's a merchant WERX, which is really the automated intake experience. So how quickly do we get to the 20 questions we need to know that will properly connect that merchant to the application process that they can very quickly be assigned or acquire the payment services that they need. And they can in fact be executing on transactions online or frankly in person. So that's Merchant WERX. Payment WERX is really the payment service, like the payment transaction engine. How does the payment actually get processed? How do the messages go from the website? How do we make sure we're qualifying the consumer right through to payments? And we can do that in megaseconds, right? The related component is, how do I know you are who you say you are? Right? So as a merchant, I'm applying, we're taking you through our TrustWorks component. That TrustWorks component capability is ensuring that you are who you say you are, that you genuinely qualify, your business is in good standing, you're properly qualified to move forward. And then at the end of that process, you are able to get to the payment processing needs you require. Well, all of what that does for us is get to the other sides of our business, the device intelligence and the business intelligence components. We're collecting all this information, we're pulling all of this together, and then we're able to deliver that as intelligence to the market of merchants. But the market of merchants who are then looking to be able to essentially get better, faster e-commerce results in particular, right? And out of that comes the final stage of all of this, which is all of that intelligence helps us take our product and take our solution, forward to the marketplace, engaging with financial institutions to solve a lot of what I call first mile problems when it comes to business lending services. So if you're large financial institutions, you have all the infrastructure to deliver these services to small business, large business, any business. If you are the credit union space, where I spent about 15 years, both on the product and sales side with companies like Fiserv and so on, You don't have those advantages. So being able to pave that road, where, that intake process that I described when it comes to merchants and providing payment services, and do the same for borrowers with who are looking for credit with smaller financial institutions, becomes a very attractive and simple solution to connect those dots and connect it to their existing enterprise solutions, and doesn't put us, and our team in a, hey, we're going to compete with billion-dollar players, when that's not what we're looking to do, and not what we're looking to evolve to either. And so all those pieces, from MerchantWerx to PaymentWerx to TrustWorks, over to the data analytics, where we brought to market a solution called FintechWerx, which can essentially better collate and better create actionable insights from all of that data I just described, and builds out for us the beginnings of our large language model. So where everybody talks about AI and what they magically can do with this, what we've gone and done is use those AI tools to say, what are the simple problems we can solve? So in the case of FintechWerx, one of the simple problems that we're solving is what people call information blindness. And so, especially if I am those smaller financial institutions, I'm sitting there going, I can't compete. I don't have the resources to compete with the larger players. And I can try to do some of this all on my own, or I can look for a platform that collects this data and that can help me better understand my position relative to peers and my position in those worlds. And so in doing that, we've been able to go to market with credit unions in Canada. We're building out the same focus with financial community banks and credit unions in the United States, and simply bring to market, here's what you're doing today, or what you should be doing today and can't afford to do. And what we're doing is using AI to eliminate those unnecessary rents, those unnecessary costs, because AI renders them unnecessary. So your consultant costs, all that exposure you have to collecting data that's already readily available, that we can bring into our model, that we can then generate those results to you right in the first place. That then sets you up for what you need to do with your regulators, with your customers or your members, and what you need to do to expand the business you're looking to build. Right? So those are all the pieces we put together. And the last piece, when we talked about the lending component, in this brand called FinanceWerx, our focus there is to be able to say, working with financial institutions who've already spent their enterprise budget on, leading enterprise tools. Those tools leave little gaps left in the process that need to be filled. And everything I've described about the automated intake to be able to validate identity and verify the applicants and so on readily applies to that space. We're saying we're not trying to compete with $1 billion enterprise solution out there. We're paving that first mile in the road that has been too bumpy for you. And here's how we're doing that. And again, we're eliminating, the rent that is costing them today, which is, an aging workforce that is stuck in spreadsheets, where we can automate that experience for the borrower, so that's a plus. And we can automate that experience for the lender, like the folks involved in making those decisions, so that you're taking this application that was days and weeks of back and forth with an applicant, and you're turning that into, what we kind of call 20 minutes, 20 questions. Right? And in doing that, we're in the closing stages. We've announced an LOI with the co-founder or the founder of that solution. And as we bring that to market, we're able to kind of talk to that payments, the world of payments, from merchants to independent sales organizations, payment service providers, over to financial institutions, and create this life cycle of innovation, but that is practical in its application. So here's a problem we're solving. Here's how it's worth solving that problem. I described that on the merchant and independent service organization side, and we're doing the same on the financial institution side. The things to look out for with FintechWerx over the coming year. We're looking at launching our payments facilitator. Our application is in for European payments facilitator. What that'll allow us to do is to essentially take everything that I've described and really put it on a global footing closer to the transactions to generate more revenue. The other thing to look for is concluding on our LOI, with what is Ruby loans, and everything I've described that brings to market the lending capabilities that we're talking about. We're going to see ourselves continuing to go down that road with this kind of 6 components to our platform. I describe them as capabilities, and in a platform setting that allows us to continually add opportunities that just make sense inside that ecosystem I described, so that we're clear on our mission, and we can go back to investors as well to describe what we're doing inside those 6 areas, and what we are looking to bring to that to help expand the platform utility as we evolve the business. You can find out more information about FintechWerx at www.fintechwerx, that's WERX.com.